Welcome to Inspiring Nations with Sonia Keeve podcast show. Question: where do you draw your inspiration? Join us as we feature women across the globe with incredible stories of how they inspire nations every day. Now, here is your host, Sonia Keeve.
Well, hello, everyone. And this is another exciting edition of Inspiring Nations. I am your host, Sonia Keeve, and I'm super excited to have my next guest on our show. And I have the incredible Erika Etienne, and she is an author, a film producer, playwright, women's empowerment speaker, transformational minister, leader, and entrepreneur. She helps women of faith to walk peacefully in the divine power and authority that God gave to them to manifest their purpose. She is also the founder of the faith-based women's empowerment group, Power, Purpose, and Peace. And so without further ado, please, for my listening audience, please welcome the amazing Miss Erika Etienne. Well, hello, superstar.
Hey, how are you?
I am amazing, and I'm so excited to have you here.
I'm glad to be here. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. And then for those who don't know you, because I know a little bit about you, but for my listening audience, outside of your bio, would you mind sharing just a little bit about who you are and whom you serve?
Sure. I am a woman who has overcome a whole array of trials and tribulations in my life. And I have committed my life and my time from the point where God just kind of turned everything around for me. I've committed my time and effort to just help women of faith come out of the dark places and walk in their divine power and authority. So whether that is hosting a retreat, having a workshop, or just dealing with them one-on-one, I really just want to see women walk peacefully in their power and their purpose.
And I love that because many women, especially, struggle with really identifying what their purpose is and how they manifest that into their purpose with their passion. And so tonight we're going to talk about, I hear you have a brand new book entitled Women Unveiled.
Yes.
And so I want us to kind of really talk about that. But before we get into that, how do you help women to really identify their purpose and walk in it peacefully?
Yeah, so here's the thing. I'm going to start with the peace side, and then I'll talk about the purpose side.
Okay.
So we wear so many hats. We have children, we have jobs, some of us stay home, but I feel like we carry the world on our shoulders. It's just who we are. We're nurturers, and we're always taking care of somebody and something. And the minute we try to do something for us, we want to put it on the back burner, or we got to put it to the side, or we're trying to figure out, how do I balance me with all these other things?
Yes.
And so I think that once you identify your purpose, you've got to put it in a place where you can do it and execute it in peace, knowing that God gave it to you and it's perfect. It's in His perfect will that you execute it and live it out. And so without the guilt and without the shame, I think that's the first part. So how I help them do that is, one, I have conversations, dialogue, try to understand who they are, where they came from, where does what wakes them up and keeps them jumping on the inside, even if they're not touching it. A lot of times you find that your purpose is directly connected to something from your past. So trying to find a correlation to why it is they're passionate about the things that they're passionate about, and then whatever blocks are in their way. And so once I help them figure that out, with the power of the Holy Spirit, it's very, very clear about what it is they should be doing. And most times I find that women already know. They already know what they should be doing. They just haven't stepped into it.
And I know that the fear is real, and it can be almost paralyzing because I know women who, like you said, they already knew what their purpose was, but they were scared to feel like maybe I don't have enough credentials to step into the role, or maybe I've made too many mistakes. So who would validate me when I've made all those mistakes? And so, do you find that women, once they can release the guilt, that they're able to open their heart up and be accepting to first identifying what that purpose is for them.
Yeah, exactly. I firmly believe that, because it's the fear, and it is that little bit of ugly voice on the inside that reminds you of all of your weak points and the things that you didn't do right. So you listen to that voice a lot more than you listen to the one that says you're able and you're capable and you're equipped. So it's a transformation in their thinking and how they perceive themselves to get them to execute. But yes, I find it time and time again that fear is so paralyzing, and sometimes it's not even something that's been placed on them. It is, we measure ourselves against other people.
Yes.
We measure ourselves against what we think success is supposed to look like, instead of defining it for ourselves.
And that is such a true statement, because women, like you said, we tend to compare ourselves, which is a detriment to our growth as women, because like you said, everybody's definition of success is different. Success isn't always monetary for a lot of people. Just having peace, I know can be freeing. So I know, as you have helped others, like, how did you get started to even get to the point where you can help other women?
Yeah, I dealt with mental battles terribly, having come out of back-to-back abusive relationships where I was told how dumb I was, how ignorant I was, how nobody cared about what I had to say, how I wasn't able to do the things that I would share and say I aspired to do.
Yeah.
It took a lot. It took a lot, because I had to reframe that story in my mind and then believe it. Not just tell it to myself, but then believe it. Excuse me. And so, I had to go through a healing process myself to change the way that I saw myself, accept the way that God saw me, and not try to alter it. Look at what his word says and just say, okay, I accept that. I accept that, and how to keep affirming myself. And so once I could get to a place where I firmly believed the things that I was speaking to myself, the things that I was reading in God's word, then I got to a place where I had to help somebody else get this and understand this, so they can step out and do the things that they always desired to do.
And I want to applaud you, because I know that had to take courage, because we definitely have battlefields in the mind. And it is a powerful tool that can really either bring us to our blessing or to our very detriment by just what we think about. And I'm always telling women, especially that have a faith-based thought process, that you aren't what other people say you are. You are who Christ says you are. And so, but I know there are women out there who may not have that strong faith. So how do you encourage a woman who maybe doesn't have God that they believe in, or they've never attended church, or they've never had somebody to tell them that they're beautiful? Like, how do you encourage someone to find their purpose when they may not even know where to begin?
Yeah, that's a good one. Let me say this. First and foremost, I find out, where did you even get this ideology that you're not any of these things? Where did that start for you? And who is the person or the thing that convinced you of that? And once we can kind of cross that hurdle, for me, a lot of times what actually happens is they ask the very question you asked me, is how did you get to this place? Why do you still have faith after all you've been through? And so I will ask them, why are you seeking help now? What is it? Because it's something deeper. So whether they've been to church or not, just starting at the foundation of why it is they feel the way they feel, and why it is they're desiring this change, and why they're ready now, is such a launch pad for everything else. And at the core of it, I say, well, this is what the word says about you. So this is what my Bible that I read, this is what it says about you.
Yes.
And go from there.
Well, that is great advice. And thank you so much for sharing that. And so I know that you have a brand new book that has come out entitled Women Unveiled. What was the motivation for coming out with that book?
Oh, a few things. First of all, I had always wanted to do a project like this where I could bring women together collectively and tell a story. I didn't exactly envision it being in a book. I just knew I wanted to help them share a story.
Yes.
I personally had always wanted to be an author. So the two ideas naturally married together.
Absolutely.
Bring forth this compilation. But the beauty in this story was about being able to show that we all have a veil of some sort covering us, and there's powerful work happening behind the veil. And if you're a Christian, you know that is where we go face to face with God, with our raw, authentic self. And we see him there in all his glory. And that's our most broken place. That's where our fears and everything is protected. It's safe back there. But in that time, whatever we're going through, he is doing a mighty work. So Women Unveiled has to do with the women who are ready now to pull it back and come forth and show what God has done within them, and just walk out powerful and let his glory shine, share what they have been through. What I really love about all these stories is they're all so very different. They're all very, very raw. And I think as Christians, we need to tell these stories. We need to talk about abuse. We need to talk about infant loss. We need to talk about divorce. We need to talk about how we've had career struggles, even when we were seemingly perfect scholarly students. I mean, it really touches on everything. It runs the gamut of everyday women's struggles. And these women have really been so authentic. They're not telling fairy tales to say, hey, everything is all perfect for me now. What they're saying is, I realized where maybe I lost my connection with God, or maybe it wasn't ever as strong as I thought it was. But now, because I can identify that, I have been able to restore my power, my purpose, my peace.
Well, I'm telling you right now, I'm ready to get that book right now, because I know, especially in the churches of today, there are so much that is happening that we don't want to discuss in churches, and we need to. It's like you said, people are hurting, people are dealing with some real stuff, and you can't sweep it under the rug with just prayer, and you can't sweep it under the rug with, going to the elders of the church, because, back in the day, that's kind of how they solved issues. You kept your business in house, you just prayed to God and left it at the altar. But things need to change where women can really express, this is what I went through, this is what I dealt with. And I wasn't, like you said, I wasn't always perfect, but because of my faith, but because I had someone I could go to, because I could talk to God, I was able to release a lot of those hurts. And so I know for those women, that had to be freeing for them. Would you agree?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I can't tell you how many times they send a revision and they're like, this is healing, or they're crying through writing a chapter because they have not shared this publicly with anybody, but they knew it was time. It was time to get it out. And I really like what you said. We don't talk about these things. And I think it's so important in the age of social media where everybody looks good, that they can see my story didn't start here. I need you to go back a few chapters and figure out how I got here. And when they read this book, that they see somebody they can identify with. There's a lot of, I've talked to women who say, I don't have a testimony because nothing tragic has ever happened to me, and then they read the book and they find out there's a woman just like that in there. And her lowest moment may seem trivial to somebody else, like anybody can handle that, but it was almost her breaking point, And so I need every woman to read it and find herself in it. And I'll share this with you, so you'll be first to know in this realm, in a way, is that we have a documentary that accompanies this. So there's a face and a voice behind these chapters. And so that will be coming out publicly in October. Yeah.
Oh, well, I want to, again, just thank you for being so courageous to put a project like this, because it's definitely needed, especially in a world where, like you said, social media always wants to show the glam side of life, but behind closed doors, people are suffering. And sometimes it doesn't have to be a suffer from like abuse, or something tragic where it took you out, but it could simply be for someone, like you said, who lost a job and they were that scholarly student. They did everything right and they were on their job doing all that we're supposed to do, and then get the call, we don't need you. And so what do you do when you're in that space?
Yeah.
And so with this book, so the book comes out when?
So the book is out on pre-order right now.
Okay.
It'll be released at the end of September, and then or 1st of October. And so it's out there right now on womenunveiled.info for pre-order.
Okay.
And then the film comes out in October in honor of Domestic Violence Month, which is my background, my story.
Okay.
So it'll be out at the end of October.
Well, there you have it. Definitely make sure that you go get this book. And so as we talk about, again, this whole unveiling, do you find that when these women wrote these stories, that when they first began, did they feel like, I didn't even know that I had things that were covered?
Yep, exactly. Even the struggle with how much to share, like you could touch on things, but there were things that they hadn't even looked at, come face to face with since they were children.
Yeah.
Some where it was, I've been dealing with this silently, but I've never really openly conveyed it to anyone. We had even, and they wrote the chapters, they were done, and we went to shoot for the documentary, and it was, again, it's like, oh wait, now I'm really saying this out loud for somebody to hear. And it became very, very real to them that I'm really pulling back the veil and I'm coming out strong. Like, I survived, I made it. This is real, Yes.
And I'm so glad that they did that, because I too experienced, being a first-time author when I was a part of a project and feeling that exact same way, like not knowing how much do I share. But like you said, when you begin writing, the Holy Spirit gives you the words to say and gives you what you need to share, because believe it or not, your story is going to help free someone else. So like you said, that women, and I'm sure men, if they want to purchase the book, that they read those stories and realize I'm not the only one.
Yes. That's exactly the idea. That's exactly what my prayer is.
And I know that it will be amazing, because the project was blessed because you were given the vision to offer the platform. And that's why I love the show, because I get to just showcase incredible women like yourself who are truly inspiring nations. And this book, I'm just going to pray that it reaches nations, not just here in the United States, because everybody has a story to tell. And then maybe it will help encourage that woman who, like you said, is sitting in silence. And when they read it, they're empowered to want to share it. So again, thank you for all of the work that you're doing. And so, as you said, you're a author and you're a coach, and you're really just helping women to elevate to that next level. So how do you kind of balance your life with your personal and then helping to pour into other ladies?
Yeah. So I am also a mom of 3 and a wife.
Okay.
And I actually work. So I'm a parallelpreneur. I have full-time job also. So in ministry and church, things like that. So,
yes.
How I would say how I balance, I don't believe anything carries equal weight. So I have very specific days that I allot to outside ventures and to outside projects as much as I can. Obviously, doing something like a film, you got to be a little more flexible.
Right.
But I have a supportive husband who just allows me the grace and freedom to just go do what makes you happy, And so he is behind. That means he's rallying the kids to go here and go there.
Mm-hmm.
He makes the time available so I can do what I need to do, or what I want to do.
Yes.
And his motto is, if it's for God, then I'll never say no. And so
yes,
I can tell you it's not always easy, because kids also require attention, but I a lot of times have them right there, I want them to see and understand what's happening. And so that makes it easy when the family is all involved.
And I'm glad that you also said that, because when you have a family, and I know there are many listeners that are those parallelpreneurs where they have the full-time job, but they are really trying to work that side hustle to build it into something beautiful, to leave a legacy. Children need to see that, not only to see the successes, but to understand the hard work it takes to build it, so that they can appreciate that all that you're doing is so that not only you can build this business for whatever you're looking for it to come, but to also leave that legacy. So as they grow, they can say, you know, I watched my mommy do this, but she still had time for us.
Yeah. And that's one thing I'll say, especially as a woman. One thing I believe firmly is my family is my first ministry. So I have 3 daughters. If I can't pour into them as young girls who grow up to be women, then I can't pour into any other women. If I'm not getting fed spiritually and spending time with God and doing what I need to do, then I'm no good to anybody else. So those things, my own spiritual welfare is very important to me, as well as making sure my family's good. Now, when they're good, then I can go serve away.
Amen. Yes, amen. And so I know you just got your hands in so many pots. So what is on the horizon next for you?
So my next big thing is launching this documentary and screening that. So I'll be screening that in Atlanta, actually.
Okay.
At the end of October. And then after that, I'm producing some other work for some other people so they can share their stories. And then my next big thing is really my retreat that happens in the spring of every year. Yeah.
Okay. And what's the name of that retreat?
Emerge. It's called Emerge.
Yes. Okay. I definitely have to make sure that I attend the next one.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Have you.
And then for those who really want to talk more about how they can connect with you, what are some touch points they can reach you?
All right, so you can connect with me on Facebook at Power to Purpose, the number 2 Purpose, or Instagram Power TO Purpose. You can also join, if you're a lady, you can join my Facebook group. It's called Power, Purpose, and Peace. Very easy.
Yeah.
And then I'm just Erika Etienne. If you look me up, it's ErikaEtienne. You can check out what's out there about the book, and it's www.womenunveiled.info.
Well, there you have it. There's some very easy connection points. And for my ladies especially, I definitely want you to connect with her, because I think when you identify your purpose and passion, you definitely want to make sure that you have peace about the decisions that you make, so that you can just blossom into the beautiful people that you already are. So thank you so much for sharing that. And before I let you go, because I love to do this with all of my guests, and again, thank you so much for being here with me today. I'm going to give you 3 words, and I want you to tell me what comes to mind when you first hear them.
Okay.
The first word is love.
Oh, God. God is love to me. The evidence of all things, God.
Faith.
Faith. It's really where everything else lies. My ability, my hope, my perspective, my foundation.
And inspiration.
Life. Life is an inspiration. Whether good or bad experiences, I feel like life inspires you to do something. It inspires change. It inspires you to commit to something new. I just think life is an inspiration.
Yes. And you, my darling, are definitely an inspiration to me and to many of the listeners who hear and tune into the show every single day.
Thank you so much. Thank you. You are too.
Thank you. Well, it was truly a pleasure to have you on the show today, and keep doing what you're doing, because you, again, are definitely inspiring women to become women that truly unveil, let go, and truly be the authentic person they were always designed to be. They just never knew it.
All right. Thank you so much. You're awesome.
And this is another edition of Inspiring Nations. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Inspiring Nations with Sonia Keeve. I challenge each of you to perform one simple act of kindness and pass it forward. For more information on how you can be a guest on our show, visit www.soniakeeve.com. We hope to see you next time.